Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Concerns over holiday sales in St. Catherine following imposition of SOE. Caribbean rejects global stocktake draft at COP28 underway in Dubai. And later in sports, West Indies battle England in first T20 International in Barbados this evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Shane Masters and here are the details. The St. Catherine business community is voicing concerns about the impact of the current state of emergency in the parish on commerce for the festive season. President of the St. Catherine Chamber of Commerce, Dennis Robotham, is calling for clarity. Carrie Ann Simpson has this report.
President of the St. Catherine Chamber of Commerce, Dennis Robotham, is calling on the authorities to outline the details and possible effects that the current state of emergency in the parish will have on business with the festive season less than 2 weeks away.
Looking at the whole overall thing, back again into the Christmas season when we have already gone deep into our pockets to stock and to do all that. I don't know what the ramifications are because we have not been told exactly the details of how it operates, the curfews, that sort of thing.
He says while the Chamber of Commerce fully supports any measure to curb crime, time is also important. Mr. Robotham noted that based on data, crime in the parish has been trending downwards. He's suggesting ways the authorities could improvise.
I figure it could be surgically done in areas that tend to have upheavals or is prone to violence and volatile areas. We possibly think that could have worked.
Turning to the matter of vending in the parish, the St. Catherine Municipal Corporation has given the green light for vending to take place on the streets for the festive season. It's, however, urging vendors to cooperate.
With my team, I have collectors and I also have the municipal police. What we check for with the vendors is 1, if they have a vendor's license. 2, we also collect for the daily fee, which is depending on the amount of goods that they have, we will charge them. So it is 300 for the regular amount. If it's a little more, then it's 500. If it's a large, tent or 2 tents, we do 1,000. Those who are vending, vend properly. Do not block the roadways where people have to walk or people drive. Those who are driving also, look out for the pedestrians. People are crossing with little children. Everybody is on the road. The elderly is on the road as well. They might not move as fast as you want them to. Be patient with them. We just want everybody to use the thoroughfare as best as possible, use the sidewalks as much as possible, and just be careful on the road.
Carrie Ann Simpson for TVJ News.
The release of the much-anticipated global stocktake document triggered a wave of protest at COP28 Monday evening. As Jamila Maitland tells us, the Caribbean bloc says to agree to the text is to sign the region's death certificate.
A slap in the face to the people and the planet. That's how climate activists and non-governmental organizations described feeling after seeing the text surrounding how countries plan to tackle climate change going forward. Disappointingly, fossil fuel, the issue of contention, will not be phased out come 2050, but rather phased down. A decision that has angered the groups.
And this is not what we expected at all. We expected a bigger ambition. We came here considering this COP to be historical, this text to be historical, and we don't see the text reflecting this.
Following news of the position, protests began to break out at Expo City.
End fossil fuels! End fossil fuels!
The Alliance of Small Island Developing States Oasis that represents the Caribbean has described the existing document as a death certificate if they sign on to it. It says, quote, "Our red line is a strong commitment to keeping the 1.5 degrees Celsius warming limit. Any text that compromises 1.5 will be rejected. We cannot sign on to text that does not have strong commitments to phasing out fossil fuels," end quote. Fossil fuel contributes significantly to global warming. On Monday, there was an impasse between developing and developed countries, which triggered an unexpected return to the summit by Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres.
It is essential that the global stocktake recognizes the need to phase out all fossil fuels on a time frame consistent with the 1.5 degree limit, and to accelerate a just, equitable, and orderly energy transition for all.
Jamaica's lead negotiator Omar Alcock says if the document is adopted as is, the region will suffer greatly. And with less than 24 hours to go until COP28 comes to an end, Mr. Alcock is hoping that this global stocktake text is only the first draft and that an updated version with stronger language and sound goals will be released and agreed upon. Reporting from COP28 in Dubai, I'm Jamila Maitland for TVJ News.
With the winter tourist season expected to begin in a few days, an urgent appeal to the National Works Agency, NWA, to fix the corridor between St. James and Negril. Representatives of the Tourism Ministry are leading the call for at least a temporary solution. A traffic nightmare, that's how residents and tourism stakeholders have described the main thoroughfare linking Montego Bay St. James to Negril. They say the situation is even more unbearable when it rains, with both the residents and tourists trapped for hours, some even missing flights as a result. It's why senior strategist and advisor in the Tourism Ministry, Delano Seavright, is calling for an urgent fix to the thoroughfare. He says while there is a need for a permanent solution to the problem, a temporary one should be considered.
We're also working with the National Works Agency and other entities to see how best we can enhance or facilitate alternate routes for Lucy in particular, because of the grave concern from Negril stakeholders about the long delays between Montego Bay and Negril. It's taking too long. Sometimes people are in traffic for 2, 3, and in excess, sometimes 4 hours.
His call comes as the country is expected to more than double the number of arrivals to the island for the 2023-24 winter tourist season.
Overall, we're looking at a very strong winter tourist season between all our major partners, the United States, Canada, and the UK, and also Western Europe. So we're very happy about that.
As to the recent Gallup survey, which looked at the perception of crime in the country, Mr. Seavright says it is a welcomed development, as it shows that despite the country recording over 1,000 murders since the start of the year, visitors to the island still consider it safe.
It does not negate the fact that we do have significant crime and violence issues that we need to address, but it does show that certainly within Latin America and the Caribbean, Jamaica ranks as one of the safer destinations in the region, and that is something to take careful note of. It has helped us certainly in the international marketplace in reinforcing to persons that whilst there are issues on island, for the most part, Jamaica is safe and open for visitors and open for investment.
The Ministries of Culture and Entertainment and Tourism have partnered for an over $23 million renovation initiative in St. Ann. This move is in line with the efforts to facilitate sustainable tourism development in Jamaica. More in this report.
The country's tourism product continues to be improved. The latest move comes with an over $23 million renovation initiative by the Culture and Entertainment and Tourism Ministries at the Civil Heritage Park in St. Ann. The Civil Heritage Park Enhancement Project, which was spearheaded by the Tourism Product Development Company, aligns with the country's master plan for sustainable tourism development. Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett, speaking at the official launch ceremony, underscored the pivotal role heritage plays in defining Jamaica's identity and attracting visitors worldwide.
One of the things that we want to do in tourism is to encourage the building out of our heritage cultures and to enable the visitors who come to not just appreciate us for our artistic excellence or the elements of our personal and personality endowment, but also to see the built heritage, things that we did, how we created out of our ideas.
Minister Bartlett says the project mirrors the ministry's Blue Ocean tourism strategy, propelling growth goals of securing 5 million visitors, $5 billion in earnings, and 5,000 new rooms by 2025, emphasizing the distinctive tourism product Jamaica offers. Culture Minister Olivia Grange says there will soon be an expedition to find Christopher Columbus's 2 ships, which sank on his 4th sail.
We intend to search for them, as the Spanish embassy has approached us and is willing to work with us in this effort.
Romarda Lyons, TVJ News.
And it's time for a break here on the Midday News, but stay with us. More stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. The Mango Row Road to Mount Vernon Gap Road in St. Thomas has been reopened. Now, the roadway had been blocked by a landslide for the past 3 weeks following heavy rains. A team from the St. Thomas Municipal Corporation had visited the area in an attempt to clear the roadway, but had to abort due to the persistent rain. The National Works Agency later dispatched heavy machinery to clear the roadway. The residents and coffee farmers say the road has been affected by numerous landslides since 2020. They are calling for the government to make good on a promise by Minister Everett Warmington, who toured the area a year ago to have the road rehabilitated. 2 people are dead following a motor vehicle crash along the Rose Hall Main Road in St. James this morning. TVJ News understands that sometime after 8 o'clock, the driver of a black Voxy motor vehicle heading towards Trelawney tried to overtake another vehicle but ended up in the path of a truck heading in the opposite direction. The driver of the truck swerved to avoid a collision but crashed into a cook shop. The Toyota Voxy ran off the road and landed in a ditch. The deceased were traveling in the Voxy. Now, up to news time, their identities had not been released. The truck driver escaped injuries. The Montego Bay police are investigating. And it's now time for the Business Minute. The Jamaica Brawlers Group made $1.3 billion in net profit for the quarter ended October 2023. This is an increase compared to the $842 million made last year in the similar quarter. Jamaica Brawlers revenues amounted to $23.4 billion. This was higher than the $22.9 billion made last year. While the company says its operations remain strong, it was slapped with higher expenditure for the quarter. Jamaica Brawlers Group spent $2.8 billion on administration and other expenses compared to last year's $2.5 billion. Further afield, shares of Macy's shot up more than 20% in pre-market trading yesterday. The stock surge happened after the Wall Street Journal reported that a private investor group has made a $5.8 billion offer for the retailer. According to the report, the proposal is from Ark House Management, a real estate-focused investing firm, and Brigade Capital Management, a global asset manager. The buyout offer would pay shareholders a 32% premium above the stock's closing price on Friday. And that's it for the Business Minute. Time now for the top regional and international stories.
In the region, Brazilian President Luiz Inácio da Silva will not attend Thursday's meeting in St. Vincent and the Grenadines between President Jair Finale of Guyana and his Venezuelan counterpart Nicolas Maduro. The meeting is to address the contentious border dispute between Guyana and Venezuela. Brazil shares borders with both countries. President da Silva, who had been invited to attend the talks brokered by the Caribbean of Latin American and Caribbean states CELAC and the Caribbean Community CARICOM, will instead be represented by his foreign relations advisor. On the international scene, at least 23 soldiers have been killed and dozens injured in Pakistan after militants attacked a police compound. The attack took place in the early hours when a vehicle containing explosives slammed into the building near the Afghan border. A militant group affiliated with the Pakistan Taliban has claimed responsibility for the attack. And the U.S. government announced that it has imposed visa restrictions on nearly 300 Guatemalan lawmakers, private sector leaders, and their families it accuses of undermining democracy and the rule of law. Guatemala faces mounting criticism by world leaders and watchdogs, accusing it of attempts to block progressive President-elect Bernardo Arevalo from taking office in January. And those were the top regional and international stories. I'm Carrie Simpson.
And we head to a quick break. When we come back, Jermaine Brown will have your midday sports report. Thanks, Jermaine. And that's the Midday News. I'm Machine Masters. Join us at 7 for Primetime News. On behalf of the news, sports, and production teams, have a good afternoon.